batenge to katenge. If we get divided, we will get slaughtered. And that slogan is endorsed by the RSS, with which you were having, a dialogue, as you said.
There seems to be a competition between BJP leaders, BJP chief ministers. They think that they can survive by being more anti-Muslim, by making these provocative statements. Today, it seems that the system is officially working against the minorities. Today, they feel unsafe sitting in their homes. Muslims are blamed for living in exclusive areas, which are called mini Pakistans, where Muslims are being pushed into a ghetto. And this is the kind of ghettoization which we saw in Poland, in Nazi Germany, elsewhere, and this is extremely dangerous.
Hello and welcome to The Federal. You're watching Off the Beaten Track, a program in which we take a fairly in-depth look into some issue. The issue that we are going to be focusing on is actually a part of an initiative. Recently, just a few days back, some very eminent, civil society leaders, people who have been part of the civil services, people who have been part of various public life, they all came together. And mind you, this is actually an intercommunity coming together, not that it is only Hindus or is it only Muslims. They came together and wrote a collective letter to the Prime Minister of India, drawing his attention to the deteriorating communal situation, large number of attacks on minority communities. Recently, a series of petitions being filed in courts to start excavating or doing surveys in various historical mosques where prayers are conducted regularly. Now, all that has created not just a sense of worry and fear, but it has also created a big number of questions about the stability and the peace of society. So I'm going to be talking about this letter, what led to the group coming together to write this letter. One of the signatories in this very important letter. Joining me on this program is Shahid Siddiqui, who is a journalist, who has been an Urdu journalist, the editor of very reputed magazine, Nai Dunia, which has been running for several decades. He has been a member of Rajya Sabha and he's a fairly well recognized face and a very important voice, not just from the minority community, but essentially on democratic rights as well as communal harmony in the country. So, first of all, welcome to this program, Shahid Siddiqui.
Thank you.
Shahid Bhai, if I can actually call you,
Yes.
as I do in our normal conversations. Let me first ask the most obvious question: that what led to all of you coming together? Big luminaries. You have people just Mr. N.C. Saxena, who's been the former secretary of the Planning Commission, Najib Jung, Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. Such stalwarts. They're not just ordinary civil servants. What led to all of you coming together? And what was the spirit behind writing this letter?
We came together for working for education, but we realized that just working for education is not enough. We have to face the challenges which we see in the society wherever we go. We talk to people, we find that they are facing these issues. These issues have become extremely important. They are dividing, they are disturbing, they are distressing. So we came together, first five of us, S.Y. Qureshi, who was the Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Najib Jung, who was the Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia Islamia, Mr. General Zamiruddin Shah, who was Vice of the Army,
AMU,
and
Aligarh Muslim University.
AMU Vice Chancellor, Mr. Saeed Sherwani, whose family has been very active in public life, and myself. We came together to work for education of Muslims and underprivileged. But then we also realized that we have to bring other people with us to fight the menace and the communal situation, which is becoming grimmer day by day. And we, in fact, before writing this letter to the Prime Minister, we also met the RSS chief, as you know, Mr.
Yes.
Bhagwat. We met him a couple of times to tell him that, look, this is not in the interest of the country, this is not in the interest of the society. If they believe in this country, if they believe in this nation, if they believe in Bharatiya nation, then they should try to control the situation. That's a different subject. But now, looking at what has happened in Sambal, and then people asking, starting from Varanasi, Gyanvapi Mosque, going on to Mathura, and then, this sudden flare up in Sambal,
Sambhal.
where a judgment was made, a lower judge allowed this survey to take place, and within 2 hours they went and started doing the survey. Survey was done, survey was completed, Muslims cooperated, but even after 1 week, again they went without any information and wanted to do another survey. And along with that, the Ajmer Sharif, which has been one of the most popular, Sufi saints place in the country, popular among Hindus and Muslims
That's right.
equally, but that was also attacked. And now there is a whole lot of people asking for, surveying the Jama Masjid, the Taj Mahal, and every other mosque. And we thought that this is going beyond control, and it is the duty of the Prime Minister, it is our duty. If he is not fulfilling his responsibility, it's our duty as citizens of this country to request him, to ask him to uh, control these elements. So we decided to write, because anyway, he may be a BJP leader, he may be a hardcore Hindutva follower, but it
Right.
is our duty as citizens to look at him as our Prime Minister, and looking at him at our Prime Minister as of every citizen in this country. We thought that it is
Yes.
proper that we write to him, and we wrote to him, and we discussed this with other friends who were equally concerned, and they decided to sign this letter. So this was signed by people from different walks of life, and that is how we came together.
Right, right. Now, in the letter, you refer to, in your answer, you talked about, the sequence of various mosques which have come under attack. I'm not just talking only about Varanasi and Mathura, but Sambal is well known. There are just one case after another coming up. There has been a long-standing pending case going on, even in Bhojshala in Madhya Pradesh, where the Hindu parties are saying that the
Yes.
mosque should be vacated and the entire property should be given to them. You talked about Ajmer Sharif Dargah, which actually has following across religious faiths. Any time that we have been to Ajmer Sharif Dargah, we have found that people following all kinds of religions, Muslims, of course, are there, but large number of Hindus, Sikhs, and even various other faith, people of faith, and even people like me, who are actually agnostics. We just like
Yes.
to go there and just like the idea that from every faith you can actually go to a place and ask something. So it is something. There are various religious shrines in this country which give various things to various people. In Ajmer also there is, of course, the another disputed property in which the Hindu claim is being made, the Arai Din Ka Jhopra, that has also been there. Now, in your letter, you say that as if these incidents were not enough, the latest provocation is of unknown fringe groups. Let me ask you, you have been in politics also. When the chief minister of India's most populous state introduces a slogan into the Indian political vocabulary called Batenge to Katenge. If we get divided, we will get slaughtered. And that slogan is endorsed by the RSS, with which you were having a dialogue, as you said. And we also know all about that. I'll speak to you about that later in the program if we get the time. And then eventually it became the main slogan of the BJP in the Maharashtra elections with a few modifications. Ek hai to safe hai. It's the same thing as batenge to katenge. So, in a situation like this, would you say that the word fringe has become irrelevant? That fringe is now mainstream, or the mainstream is also talking the language of the fringe?
Look, there is nothing like fringe. We talked of this fringe only in the context of, say, Sambhal or Ajmer, where this issue was raised by unknown people who
Right.
directly did not belong to BJP or directly were not part of the RSS. But the fact remains that this could not happen, this will not happen without the backing and the support of the government and the whether it's UP government or it's the central government or the Rajasthan government. So we have no, illusion that this is just because of the of small fringe elements. The core is the fringe, and that core is led by the Prime Minister and other prominent leaders of the BJP. And this slogan is directly, you know, talking. I mean, it's a very strange slogan by a country where a community which is in majority, overwhelming majority, which is controlling all aspects of life and society, of politics, of army, of judiciary, of the media, and they are talking in the language of fear. This could be the language of a minority in a which is feeling totally helpless to say that let's come together, otherwise we will not survive. So this normally is the language of a group which feels totally helpless. But are the Hindus of this country helpless? Are they uh, living in fear of the 10-15% of the population? This is very strange because you are turning the whole community, majority community, into a fearful, helpless group which can only
Right.
be survive if they come together and try to protect themselves. एक हैं तो safe हैं, otherwise they are not safe. So they are not safe under because the government fails to give security to them. The army, the police, the judiciary, the press. That means the Prime Minister is accepting that they have failed
Right.
to
It's
protect the
acceptance
majority
of
community.
failure.
They are not safe in this
Yes.
country. They are not safe in this country, especially in the last 10 years.
So I
When
think I think that's a very important point that you made. That if you are making the slogan, then you're accepting that you have failed to keep people safe in that. It's only by a majoritarian, up, connecting the majoritarian drive, on that basis only you can possibly make the Hindus of this country to feel safe. At another part in the letter, you write, that what started initially as isolated incidents of beating up of Muslim youth or, on charges of carrying beef or various things, has now grown into a full-fledged societal response in which Islamophobia is constantly being whipped up. Just to the other day, in the Times of India, there was an editorial, mind you, Times of India, India's leading paper, writes its lead editorial on an incident in Moradabad where a gentleman sells his house to a Muslim, and these are highly qualified professionals, and the entire residents of this society come up and say that no, you can't sell the house to a Muslim and you have to cancel the deal. So you have this kind of an ostracization going up. Now, my question is that you have actually seen the rise and growth of communalism right from 1980s, the decade in which actually religion started playing a much more important role in politics and in electoral politics. It is not that everything was very fine after partition. There were communal tensions, there were riots, but it became a full-fledged stream flowing along with politics and especially during elections. Now, would you say that from being a politically articulated sentiment, this has become more broad based and there are greater sections within society who now have a greater amount of animosity towards the Muslims and other religious minorities also, especially Christians also?
Nilanjan, look, there has been communalism in this country for a long
Yes.
time.
Long time.
I will not go into the history.
Yes.
Muslims, the section of Muslims which asked for partition was equally responsible for it.
That's right. That's
And,
right.
and post partition, there have been huge riots. I'm one of those persons who has covered more riots in this country
That's
than
right.
anyone else. I have I have been to Bhagalpur, to Hashimpura, Malyana, Bhivandi, Jalgaon, Mumbai, Aligarh. Dozens and dozens of riots I've seen, and thousands of people have been killed in those riots.
That's right.
Those were huge blots, and they happened in 60s. More happened in 70s. Then 80s, 1980
80s.
was Muradabad, 1980
Moradabad was terrible.
87 was Meerut, Malyana, Hashimpura, 89 was Bhagalpur, where nearly 2,000 people were killed. So
Yes.
there have been huge riots, and then 1992, after the demolition of the Babri Masjid, today is 6th December, we are remembering that horrible day. And I remember that day in this very room, I collapsed because
Right.
for 2-3 days I was just moving around trying to control riots. There were huge riots on 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and so the riots have been there, killings have been there, but this kind of overwhelming fear, where today the minorities, especially Muslims, are feeling that the system is not working for them. The judiciary is not for them. The media is against them. Earlier, there used to be a section of media which was communal, but a large section which used to be at least have this facade of being neutral and objective and secular. Judiciary, especially, we believed in judiciary, we still believe in judiciary and the constitution. Of course, the constitution is the most wonderful constitution anywhere in the world. So we have total faith in the constitution. But the system was not working, officially it was not working against the minorities. But today it seems that the system is officially working against the minorities, and earlier they were unsafe in where there were huge riots. Today they feel unsafe sitting in their homes. Today they feel unsafe where there is no tension at all, but there is a pervading darkness and feeling of fear in every heart of people who are even of those who are very powerful, those who have held very powerful
Worked in
positions
very important
in the
position.
government of
Yes.
the army. I mean, people like Mr. Zamiruddin Shah, who was
Yes.
deputy army chief.
He's been a In
Yes,
fact, he was deployed in Gujarat during the
yes,
2002
yes,
Gujarat riots,
yes.
and
So
it's a very
today,
important part of his
every
chapter
one
of his
of us,
life.
that's the difference. That's the difference between what happened earlier and what's happening now. Because now, uh, earlier there were communal situations, isolated communal situations. Now it is
Right.
all pervasive in every sphere of life. I'm afraid. My sister lives in Greater Noida. She is 86 years old, and sometimes she requests me to bring some meat for her, that is a mutton or a chicken,
Hmm.
so that
Hmm.
she can cook it because she can't go to the market. But I'm
That's right.
afraid to carry it from New Delhi to Greater Noida, that if my car has an accident in between and some people come and search me and find some meat, because it's enough. Finding any kind of meat is enough for the crowd to beat you up.
To say that you're carrying beef.
Yes. So that is the kind of situation where we are feeling. Earlier somebody asked me, who is a Muslim? I said, there is no definition of Muslim. Even an atheist can be a Muslim. There's a Shia Muslim, there's a Sunni Muslim, there's a Barelvi Muslim, there's a
Yes.
Deobandi Muslim, there is a Wahhabi Muslim, all sorts of
It's
Muslims.
as diverse. The
But
Muslim community.
today, yes, as diverse as
It,
Hindus, but today, anybody who feels insecure sitting in their home, hearing of any news anywhere of Muslims being targeted, feels unsafe, is a Muslim. Whether he believes in Islam or not, whether he believes in religion or not, even an
now,
atheist is a Muslim. Just your name is enough for you to be insecure.
yes. Now, let me ask you a very specific question. We
Yes.
have seen, and this is a point which you have also highlighted in your letter to the Prime Minister, that there is a very concerted effort at economically boycotting Muslims. Muslim traders, Muslim vegetable sellers, people are not buying them, not allowing them in large number of cities and towns. We keep on getting reports in the media that they are not being allowed to sell anywhere, wherever they want to. Given the state of India's economy, this kind of trade is essential to keep lives moving, to keep feeding stomachs. Now, in a situation like this, where it is becoming very difficult, and also we have this situation of houses being bulldozed and all kinds of terror tactics being used by the state and various administrators. In this kind of a situation where there is an increased ghettoization, which we have seen through the process of the Ram Janmabhoomi Andolan, we started even within the city of Delhi, the entire mega township of Jamia Nagar actually came up in front of our eyes in terms of the population got boosted because Muslims feel more secure in a colony which is called Muslim Ilaka. That entire idea of Ilaka became much more reinforced where it should have got diffused over the last few decades. Now, in a situation like this, economic boycott, is it slowly becoming that petty Muslim traders are now thinking that we should not venture out and go and sell only in areas where the Muslims are in a majority?
I won't say that this has become common, but it is there's an effort to lead to that. On the one hand, Muslims are blamed for living in exclusive areas, which are called mini Pakistans.
That's right.
On the other hand, yesterday you must have read the news that a doctor bought a house in a colony of doctors in Muradabad, and there
Yes.
is a video of a doctor lady who is saying that we cannot allow this. Those who have sold this, they should apologize, and these people cannot come. हमारी माँ बेटियां खतरे में हो जाएंगी if a Muslim couple comes and live within us. So this is the kind of situation where Muslims are being pushed into a ghetto, and this is the kind of ghettoization which we saw in Poland, in Nazi Germany, elsewhere, and this is extremely dangerous because ghetto does not just create a physical ghetto, but a mental, emotional ghetto as well as that. And any ghettoization of any community is not good. Although in a country like India, every community wants to live with their own people. For example, the Bengalis prefer to live in Chitranjan Park, where there are more Bengalis. The South
Well,
Indian,
I don't live in Chitranjan Park,
you may
and
not, but
so
by and large, I mean, there are more people. I also live in areas where there are hardly any Muslims. But the point is that this is what is being done, and I mean, in India, South India, even when they go to London, they want to live in the South Hall or in Canada, in
yes,
Toronto, Brampton, the Gujaratis, and they are also Indian Gujaratis lives in a different area in Toronto. The Sikhs lives in a different area. The other Hindus, non-Gujarati Hindus, live in another area. So this is not something it's not a crime to do
yes,
that.
it is
This is quite
essentially a
natural.
question of being comfortable. You have the
Yes.
same kind of
And the kind of
language,
food you eat,
culture.
you want to buy things, but that doesn't mean that you do not allow anyone else to come in. For example, Sia Park today, there are nearly it's
Large
50
number of
50. There are more
non-Bengalis.
non-Bengalis today than they were about 20 years back. So that is the situation. Things change. I am now in Nizamuddin West, where when I came here, there were hardly few Muslims. Now there are more Muslims. So that is how things change.
True. There was also this question which keeps on coming up. That besides society, Muslims are also facing a partisan state administration. In terms of not just the administrators but also political leaders. There are some states where the leaders are more aggressive. Say, for instance, in Assam, we keep every few weeks we keep on hearing the Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma saying something which is absolutely very provocative and aimed at further marginalizing Muslims. Now, this, what kind of an impact does it have on the society of people there and also people outside?
You know, there seems to be a competition between BJP leaders, BJP chief ministers. They think that they can survive by being more anti-Muslim, by making these provocative statements. It's a very unfortunate situation because this harms the majority community much more than the Muslims. Because these chief ministers, these politicians, they feel that they don't have to do much for the people. Whether there's a price rise, whether roads are built or not, whether the bridges are collapsing, whether the railway is not functioning properly, people don't give a damn. They will come back to power by polarizing the society, by doing this Hindu-Muslim thing. So as a result, they are not responsive to the problems faced by the common people, especially the Hindus. So it's the Hindus who are suffering much more because of this politics, the price rise in petrol or in the dollar rate, going up, or the vegetables becoming more and more expensive, or the bridges collapsing in Bihar or Assam or elsewhere. So it is, Muslims are equally suffering, but more Hindus are suffering because they are the majority. They are 80%. So
Yes.
nothing is being done to elevate their situation. Earlier, everybody was talking of Kashmiri Pandits. Now nobody is talking of Kashmiri Pandits. Why not? You are there for 10 years. You have been in power. Why can't the Kashmiri Pandits go back to Kashmir? There was the Article 370 was removed, so nobody is talking about it. Why not? I have worked in Kashmir even in 1990s. I was there was a prize on my head by the Kashmiri militant organizations because I spoke against them in 19.
That's right. I remember that episode.
90 and 91. Because I thought that what is happening in Kashmir, and let me tell you, yesterday we wrote a letter. We 5 of us have written a letter to the Bangladesh president and to the caretaker of government of the Bangladesh. We have written 2 letters to them condemning what is happening in Bangladesh and saying that this is totally un-Islamic, this is unconstitutional, this is undemocratic, and they should protect the minorities. And any society is judged by the condition of minorities in it. If a society cannot protect its minorities, it cannot claim to be democratic, it cannot claim to be civil. So we who wrote a letter to the Prime Minister have also written a letter to Bangladesh government, because we believe that it is not only the India minorities which have to be protected. Minorities have to be protected in Pakistan. I am one of those. I was the Pakistan-India Forum of Parliamentarian co-chairman, and I went to Pakistan a dozen times, and there I openly spoke against the Pakistani attitude towards the minorities, especially the oppression of Hindus in Pakistan. So it is my duty as a person who is working for the rights of the minorities in India, to speak up for the rights of minorities in whole of South Asia. It will be not be right on my part to not do that.
Yes. No, I think it's a very, right decision that if you are speaking about the minorities in India, you should speak about the rights of minorities, not just in Pakistan and Bangladesh, wherever there is persecution on the basis of religious identity. We all should be speaking about it, and I think
it's not an interference. It's not an interference in the internal affairs.
No, definitely not.
The condition of minorities is not an internal affair.
Now, related to this, would you say that this is a case of double standard, that the government of India, political leaders who are associated with the coalition partners of the government at the center and at the state, they are at the forefront, even the RSS is at the forefront of raising their voice against the attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh, but at the same time they are silent about the attack on minorities in India? Isn't this a case of double standards?
You see, Ranjan, all in power have these double standards, whether in India or in Pakistan or Bangladesh. Bangladesh government is totally denying the atrocities being committed on the Hindus.
That's right.
And others over there. The same with the Pakistanis. Same with the United States. United States raises its voice time and again on atrocities being committed in India on minorities. But when the
Within their
same
own society, they are.
when the same kind of atrocities are committed in their friendly countries or the countries which are supported by them, then they don't raise their. So this is very
No,
political.
even
This is
American
of any
society
state
is
government.
highly, even American society, if I may add, is highly discriminatory on matters of race. It is not
Nice.
that it is an
They have
absolutely
always been.
just and equal
Yes, they have
society.
always been. They've always been. Yes, and it's and
Now,
yeah. Please, yeah.
yeah, no, moving on from here, you referred to the conversation, the dialogue which several of you, eminent civil society members from the Muslim community were having with the RSS through 2023. You had several meetings. You know, the talks really finally came to nothing. We stopped hearing about more further meetings happening. What was your assessment of the number of meetings that you had? That what were they really? What was the RSS seeking in trying to meet you? And what did the Sarsanchalak Mr. Mohan Bhagwat? What did he actually say in these meetings?
To be honest, it was our initiative. It was not RSS initiative. We
Okay,
wrote a letter to RSS chief after this incident where this BJP lady had spoken against the prophet, and there was a lot of
that's right.
tension in the society. So we wrote a letter to him, similar kind of letter which we have written to Modi ji, who has not responded at all. But
Hmm.
Sar Sanchalak responded, and we had also requested him to give us time to meet, and he gave us time, and we went and met him, and he honestly spoke to us very frankly. He spoke to us. He said everything is not in my control, but I believe that this should change and we must all come together. uh, One thing he made very clear, that look, we cannot push the minorities into the Indian Ocean, so we have to learn
Right.
to live together, we have to work together. And that's when he said there'll be few leaders of the RSS who will be interacting with us, and we must find, because these things cannot be solved in one meeting. So we must
Right.
continue the dialogue. And as Democrats, it's not about Muslim, Hindu. As Democrats and as citizens of India, we believe that there have to be talks. We cannot reject any group. RSS is an important, very important part of Indian society. We cannot close our eyes to that. We cannot say that, look, we cannot talk to RSS at all. RSS does represent a large section of Hindus, not all Hindus. Even Bhagavad Gita said we do not represent Hindus, all the Hindus.
Right.
We represent only a section of Hindus. So we must talk to them. So those talks continued. There were number of meetings. I for the reason that I'm the only one in this group who was involved in active politics. So I withdrew myself from the talks.
Right.
So I have not met him. That when these people met Bhagavad Gita for the second time, I did not. I was not part of that, and I think they met for the third time as well. But I'm not part of that. But I do not oppose it. I support this dialogue, and I believe that we must speak to everyone, because Muslims are part and parcel of this nation, and this nation belongs to us, and it is our
Yes.
duty to speak to all sections of society and remove the misunderstandings. There are misunderstandings on all sides. Muslims also have a large part to responsible for many misunderstandings in the society about them or about their religion or about their society. And we are all carrying the baggage of history. uh, Although we are not responsible for what Baba did or what Jinnah did, but
Right.
that baggage is carried by all of us, and therefore it's a duty of educated Muslims, those who can speak up, those who have the opportunity to go and talk to others, to try to remove it and try to come to a situation where we can say that, look, let's leave the past and let's move forward to build this great nation, to build the society, and come together for a prosperous India.
Okay, one last question, which is that, in the letter you also talk about an immediate need for an interfaith meeting under your chairmanship, where you, as the Prime Minister of an inclusive Bharat, should give out a message that India remains a land for all, where faiths have existed together and in harmony for centuries.
Yes.
Mr. Modi has not responded to your letter, as you have just told me in the course of our conversation. We hope that he will respond to your letter.
Yes.
Maybe he has been busy with
Yes, he is a
something.
busy
But
person. We have just written a week back,
yes, yes,
so we
yes.
can
So,
wait.
so let us be hopeful of that. But in the event of the Prime Minister not taking the initiative to hold an interfaith meeting, so I have two questions related to that. At that stage, first, explain that why do you think that an interfaith meeting may be able to make some kind of a progress in reducing the communal temperature and the concerted bids to attack the religious minorities, especially Muslims and the Christians? How can this help? And
Look,
can civil society
yeah.
take the leadership in this? Would it have the sanctity? Would it have the power to be able to holding such a dialogue, and what
Look,
it can lead to?
we have in the past we had this National Integration Council, and
That's
I
right.
was a member of the National Integration Council when in 1990 VP Singh reorganized it, and we met at that time when this Babri Masjid issue, Ram Mandir issue was boiling, and we tried to diffuse the situation. Then when the Muzaffarnagar riot took place, then even after that, immediately after that, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh called a meeting of the National Integration Council. So we as Indians have always believed that we can, if we come together and make a call, then there is a huge section of Indians who will respond. Not all, but a large section does respond to such interfaith. And I believe that despite all the communal situation, India is by and large an extremely secular country. Indians are secular, Indians are pluralistic, Indians are inclusive, and Indians do not, by their nature, do not believe in the politics of hate. And therefore, if the Prime Minister makes a call, and all the political leaders and others are invited, the religious leaders are invited for this kind of creating an atmosphere, then
Right.
I'm sure a large section of India will respond. Not all will respond, of course, but those who will not will gradually get isolated. So there is a need for that, whether Prime Minister does it or whether the civil society decides to do it. Let me also tell you that we have formed a group called Citizens for Fraternity.
Right.
And this letter which you have written to Bangladesh, it is under this banner, Citizens for Fraternity, and we will be inviting others. We will be trying. We will make an effort. I mean, what can we do if we can't just sit and watch? Most of us
That's right.
just want to say we can't help it, we can't do anything because we are not in power, therefore nothing can be done. No, when the coming generations ask this question, where were you, what were you doing when this was happening, at least our conscience is clear. We can say, or history can say, that we were making an effort. Whether we succeeded or failed, we do not know, but we made an effort, and that's what we are trying to do.
I think very well said, Shahid Siddiqui. Thank you very much for saying that we must all live by our conscience, so that in future, when the next generations asks us, where were you and where were you positioned? What was your stance at that time? Did you make an effort to stop the madness? I think you would be counted among the right kind of people. Being judged by history in a proper way is the dream and ambition of everybody. And I think that's a very good message which you have sent. Thank you, Shahid Siddiqui. It's always
Thank you.
a great pleasure speaking with you and get a very rounded sense of what is happening. Yes, things are gloomy, but then we will have to
There's
keep
hope.
on struggling in whatever way we can and live in hope. Thank you very much
Absolutely.
once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Naren.